Monsieur le Président, Excellences, since we last reported to you 6 months ago, Syria has become a yet more dangerous place to live, and we have seen the largest escalation in violence in 4 years, with active hostilities on multiple fronts. Following the 5th October deadly attack on the Homs military academy, Syrian and Russian forces bombarded opposition-controlled areas around Idlib, attacking school, markets, and IDP camps, with hundreds of civilians killed and injured, and 120,000 people displaced. In just a few days, government forces used internationally banned cluster munitions in densely populated urban areas, shelled no fewer than 5 well-known hospitals in central Idlib, and conducted direct attacks on first responders. Rather than place of sanctuary, objects protected, hospitals in northwest Syria are considered very risky places to be. In the same period, Turkish forces attacked areas held by the Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, in northeast Syria in retaliation for a PKK-claimed attack in Ankara. Aerial attacks on power stations deprived nearly 1 million people of water for weeks. Civilians in eastern Syria were also killed, arbitrarily detained or displaced amidst clashes between the SDF and a coalition of tribal fighters. With no prospects of settlement in sight, this infighting creates further instability in an area where Daesh remains active. In fact, Daesh is stepping up its attacks, targeting civilians in attacks that may amount to war crimes. Daesh claimed 35 attacks in the first half of January alone. We are investigating a new report of Daesh attacks in the Badia Desert in central Syria against civilians, including women and children, as they gather truffles. Meanwhile, since 2nd October and Israel's Gaza onslaught, attacks between the United States and alleged Iran-backed groups, as well as strikes by Israel, have significantly increased. Of at least 35 Israeli attacks occurring since then, some struck Syria's major airports, which lead to temporary closures, very much affecting vital UN humanitarian air services. Reports of deaths in Syrian state custody continued, including in Sinai military prison, while authorities obstructed and profited through extortion from families' efforts to discover the whereabouts of their detained relatives. People criticizing online the decision to lift the state subsidies in August were detained by the security apparatus, including in areas traditionally supportive to the government. In Soweto, protests since August 2023 have demanded both economic and political reforms. We are concerned by reports indicating that the authorities may have used live ammunition against unarmed protesters last month. In SNA areas, notwithstanding efforts to improve the treatment of detainees, torture and ill treatment continue in detention facilities run by specific factions, who also continue to unlawfully confiscate property, including olive harvests from civilians. In Idlib, HTS continue to commit acts amounting to unlawful deprivation of liberty, including in a manner tantamount to enforced disappearance, with reports of executions based on summary trials. Several women's rights organizations suspended their activities owing to threats, denial, or delays of permits required by HTS. 1 year after a major earthquake, daily life for civilians worsened with deepening economic crisis and dwindling funding for aid. A severe shortfall in donor funds has forced the World Food Programme to suspend regular food aid in Syria, placing millions in the grip of hunger. 3 out of 4 people inside the country now need humanitarian aid, such as food, water, and medical care, yet aid deliveries are at risk of non-approval by the Syrian government and hampered by sanctions. Monsieur le Président, in northeast Syria, 5 years after the fall of Baghouz, almost 30,000 children continue to be unlawfully detained in conditions amounting to cruel and inhuman treatment. Let me repeat, 30,000 children detained for 5 years. These children were victimized in the grip of Daesh, only to be again subjected to a range of human rights abuse in the years following its territorial defeat. We urge all states, including Syria, to immediately allow all children to return home from the camps and to ensure the reintegration in society, while pursuing efforts towards accountability for Daesh crimes. We commend the states who already follow this path, demonstrating how this can be done effectively. More should follow suit. We all are kindly invited to a side event we are organizing on this issue on Wednesday afternoon here in the Palais des Nations, and I encourage you to read a background policy paper just circulated. Our call to all states is release these children. Regrettably, the prospects of a political settlement for Syria appear more remote than ever. Little or no progress has been made on the key issues, security, refugees, and drugs, that induced the League of Arab States to bring Syria back into the fold nearly 1 year ago. On the contrary, Syria is now safer, and many more Syrians are still free from rather than return to their country. Land owned for generations is being sold to pay smugglers for potentially life-threatening journey to safe shores. The number of Syrians seeking asylum in Europe in October reached the highest level in 7 years, 24,000 in just 1 month, while the number returning decreased by 27%, with only some 35,000 voluntary returns tracked by UNHCR last year. Nevertheless, we are very encouraged by the remarks of the Syrian Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs at the second Global Refugee Forum in December. He affirmed Syria's continued efforts to work with UNHCR to ensure, quote, greater and broader humanitarian access and a flexible and predictable presence of UNHCR, especially in the main areas of return and border points, end of quote. We look forward to seeing how this agreement will be implemented. Monsieur le Président, Excellences, we are heartened to see innovative initiatives by Syrian civic activists and victims associations to promote justice and accountability. These efforts have been instrumental to the establishment of the Independent Institution for Missing Persons, which is due to begin its work next month and will continue to need your support for its efforts. Syrian civil efforts have also been key in amplifying voices of survivors of atrocities in international fora, including around the proceedings brought by Canada and the Netherlands before the International Court of Justice that resulted in the ACG's provisional measure aimed at preventing acts of torture and ill treatment in Syria. In closing, I call on Council members to not lose sight of the Syrian crisis. Syrians face unprecedented hardship. 6.7 million now require humanitarian assistance, the largest number since the start of the crisis. After nearly 13 years and the killing of more than 300,000 civilians, what we need now more than ever is an immediate ceasefire. Syria also needs a ceasefire to end the conflict and to find an inclusive path towards a just political settlement. Thank you very much.